What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Blade Dragons podcast. I'm Elliot,
And I'm Alex.
and we are doing our monthly recap for the Beyblade X anime. If you didn't know, we switched our upload schedule. We're focusing a little bit less on the anime, but we do have a lot to say about this whole month, the last 4 episodes of the Beyblade X anime. Check out our video on the Hasbro release. We have to cover that also. So, a lot of Beyblade product talk coming out this week. So stay tuned and subscribe to the Blade Dragons podcast if you want to stay up to date with the series of Beyblade X as a whole. So as you see on screen now, I believe that we have 4 episodes to go through, episode 21, 22, 23, and 24. We have some good talking points, got some screenshots. Let's get right into it and not draw this out very long. Take it away, Alex.
Yep, so the past few episodes have been a mix of good and bad. The last two, I want to say, were pretty decent, all in all, things given. I think the biggest factor of that is getting to the battles and actually getting to plot progression. But they did do some minor deviations, which make a lot of difference for the quality of this anime. And for the earlier episodes, they weren't as good, and we're going to see exactly why, starting with probably one of the most bland, drab, and boring episodes of the entire season so far, episode 21, where we got introduced to the owner of Unicorn Sting. Now, I don't even want to pull up the screenshots. We're going to try and speed through this one, but for whatever reason, the animators got just somebody did this. And we got a really uncomfortable screenshot close up of Maltese foot. I don't know what kind of sickos they got working over at 80K, but we're not into feet. We're into spin tops. So if we can just refrain from this kind of nonsense again, that would be very much appreciated. Takara and 80K, just absolutely, we.
It was out of nowhere that she's just getting ready. She's doing stretching, and not even like there's an awkward angle of her foot in the foreground. It was like proportions were off. She looks like she has Shaquille O'Neal feet. It was insane. It literally was like, why is that in the anime? Anyway, we're moving on from that.
Yep. The next thing that we got was something that I believe that we touched on minorly in our last anime episode when we had Juice, and it was Common's little disco outfit that he had on in episode 21. And yeah, it's not any better than it was then. It's he's going with like the Elvis style 50s suit. He's got the 70s fringe on the forearms. He's got like a WWE belt. He's got the sequins all over the suit like it's 80s Michael Jackson. He's got the backwards baseball cap like it's the 90s. Like it's this is just all over the place. And like I don't know if like mixing all those decades in his fashion choice was like intentional, but it kind of really does cement the fact that men, or at least children, don't know much about fashion. At least most of them don't. And that's why
I
we
do
should.
I do have to say I do have to say this is better than the outfit he wore going into the store. He had like
Yeah.
vertical stripes, horizontal stripes, plaid. Man looks like he was a middle-aged dad that just went to a picnic. Um, so I gotta say, at least all the colors match in the backward hat. He's looking like a real gangster here. So
I don't know about maybe from like a very flamboyant version of West Side Story, but uh, yeah, certainly certainly a look for a Beyblade character. Oh
indeed,
man. And then we get to probably one of the most interesting and our most like cultural point for this episode. And that is the meme that we shouted when we saw Uni, the owner of Unicorn Sting. I'll move our cams up because Common X looking depressed as hell is hilarious. And yeah, so the first we saw Uni show up, and the first thing we were like is, "Oh look, COVID woman," because she's got the mask on. And if this had come out in like 2019 or 2018, and we were watching this, that would not have been the first. That would have been far from our thoughts. But it's funny how much the pandemic just kind of puts a spin on your humor.
For sure. And obviously it's a Japanese culture thing to wear a mask more frequently than in the States. And as we will get into why she had this mask on in the end of this episode, it makes sense. But yeah, it was just a funny thing where that was our first reaction. It's like, oh, nope, she's sick.
She's got COVID. It's get her out of there. She's a biohazard. Yeah, it's we have senses of humor. Our next big thing was actually probably one of the more interesting things that we've seen out of the anime. It was one of those things where we stopped and we are like, okay, so that's an
Such a weird
interesting thing.
screenshot.
Yeah, it's sort of it's an interesting one. So, Bird, Common, and Multi get intercepted by Uni, and she is like, "Oh, your guys' fashion is just out of touch, except for Multi. Yours is all right." And she dresses them in like polo shirts and shorts and all white. And then there is a 4X like projector machine that kind of like hologram spray paints their clothes. Now I don't know, like I have no idea what this process is supposed to actually equate to, if there is any kind of thing to equate to for real life, but it just sort of like does the hollow spray paint on it, and then it gives them these very Common X styled looks, and that's sort of their like team uniform.
Yeah, I don't know why she's like, "Yeah, your fashion is terrible," and then dresses him up in this. Like, how is this any better than what any of them were wearing? They look like they belong on a bowling team. They got the collared shirts, you know. I don't know. I enjoy the concept of it, but you know, she said Malty looked good. She was just wearing a hoodie and sweatpants or whatever. That's normal. And then I think Bird was the most fashionable out of the episode. He had like a cute little vest on with a baggy hoodie, and you know he looks stylish. But you know now they got upgraded to team uniforms, so that's good. 4X system.
Yep, and then they're gonna proceed to never wear these again, which I find kind of funny. But I think it's very
Yep.
interesting, like the what they showed here with 4X, and it's like, is it just holograms and whatnot, or is it like a little bit more than that, where it can actually like how much can 4X do? Because up until now, it's mostly just been like a holograph system used to show like an avatar in the stadium, and it's depending on how much tech you have available, it can either be very refined and very intimidating, or it can be like the behind the grocery store battle in episode 14 or whatever it was, and it can just kind of look like a damn garden snake for Viper Tail. But like showing this here where it designs clothes and actually prints them out on the person like that is I'm just praying that that's not going to happen in our reality anytime soon.
3D printing goes clothing.
I don't know about that. I'm not ready for that. I want to go back to
No.
VHSs. That just shows my age.
Yeah. I like DVDs, you know, being very fragile with them because you ruin your favorite DVD, you just can't watch it, or you ruin your game, you lose your hours of progress.
Yep,
The struggles were real back in the day.
they were, but they taught you patience and discipline, and that's what I liked about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
All this like iPad shit given to kids, and like, yeah, you can just pause the video and come back and watch it again. It's like, no, 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 no. When you finish that video, when you got a VHS, you got to rewind that for the next person. You can't just walk away, put it back in the case. Got to have etiquette. You just don't see that as much.
Yeah,
But
and I noticed myself realizing how much instant gratification is affected me. It was like, whoa, I literally can't wait for a web page to load. I used to literally have to wait like 20 minutes to get through a few web searches back in the day.
it
Like
took
the computer wasn't even able to handle a video playing on a website.
That's so real. It used to be like a good like 2 to 5 minute wait time for your computer to just turn on, much less get on the
Yeah,
internet. It was like it was a process. You had to sit down for a long time just to do a little bit of work on a computer. And now it's all just like
dedication.
boot it up, takes like 10 seconds, get on the docs, write like an hour worth of work, turn it off, and it's like that whole process you would get like maybe half a page done if it was like
Hmm.
2005 or something. How times change. So the next one that we got is a pretty funny one, as usual. We love some of the subtitles, and they're actually playing into more modern lingo, I guess, language,
Yeah.
because Uni just calls Bird out, and she's like, "You've got no pro riz." That's gonna be like the new
It's
no
so
bitches
bad.
meme.
Well, well,
No
yeah.
pro
So
riz.
this, I guess we do have to say that this is not auto subs. This is not official dub or sub. This is the whatever animation community did subtitle this video. So in theory, this could be like one of their interpretations of what it was, but it was just really funny that they put the word Riz in a context of Beyblade. I cringed so hard.
I find the word kind of funny. That's like only one. That's like the only like quote unquote Gen Alpha word that I actually kind of like. I find it a little funny, and it makes sense. But when you pair it with like all these other wacky words like Ohio and Skibbity, then we start getting a little bit.
Ohio?
Yeah, that's now a Gen
Isn't
Alpha
that a
word.
state?
Nope, not anymore. It's an
What?
adjective. I don't even know
What?
what it is
Oh,
anymore.
oh, everything's like Ohio, like they're
Something like
bath
that.
salts. It's Ohio's the new Florida type thing.
Yeah, something like that. It's the new state to dunk on, apparently.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't watch TikTok. I choose to go as far away from anything that has to do with new social media. I stick with my long form content on YouTube, and I nope. We'll move on, but
Yep.
you know,
He
cool,
watches
interesting subtitle.
he watches space documentaries done by British men or
I
narrated
watched
by
Neil
British
deGrasse
men.
Tyson and Bill Nye on loop.
On loop. Oh goodness. Oh dude, have you seen the Chinese version of the Bill Nye the Science Guy opening?
I've not. We'll have to look that up
Oh
afterwards.
yeah, we're watching that after this. It's so good. It is insanely funny. But yep, we got Bird has got no pro riz, and we it's I mean Uni's not wrong. Uni's not wrong. His riz is just not there. One of the more interesting things that we saw in episode 21 was something that we haven't seen for quite a few episodes, and I was genuinely surprised that we hadn't seen it for a while. And that was the use of Bird's special move, Chain Blast, where I think what he does is he like bounces between the X line and smacks the Beyblade in the middle and draws like a chain thing around it and then goes in for like an attack. It's very similar to some of the special moves in the Beyblade Burst Hasbro mobile app. That it's very reminiscent of that to me. But what's interesting here is that Bird is unable to what is it? Finish off the battle. Kind of launches, or rather, it doesn't even work if I recall right.
Yeah, no, it did not. It was a failed special move. But it was an attempt nonetheless, and it's cool to see that he's bringing back his skill, even though he's being nerfed significantly for having like one of the only special moves in the dang series.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little sad, like how few actual special moves there are. You know, it's like I feel there's too much emphasis on the extreme dash, and there's not enough emphasis on the fact that Beyblades will often like, get hit really they'll get hit really hard and then they'll bounce into the X line. But because they don't have the like that ladder or what is it? Latitudinal momentum, I guess. It'll like hit the X line and then it'll bounce back into the center. Like it'll still get the speed, but it won't run along the line and do an extreme dash. And I really like that about this special move here. That's something that we did see Common utilize in the behind the grocery store battle with the thugs. And it's a little bit sad that Bird is the one that uses it, and they've just treated him so poorly for the entire duration of the anime so far.
Yep. So I think the next screenshot here is Bird actually
Breaking his
oh.
neck.
So
So
Bird loses the battle against Uni. I didn't know what our next screenshot was there. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, Bird loses, and it was a big nothing burger of a battle in an episode that Bird loses. I think Malty and Common just launched their Beyblades to show off their new uniform, but it turns out that Uni, or the store owner, was actually Unicorn Sting from Team Yggdrasil, and that she was wearing the mask and the hat as her disguise, which is stupid because that's her store, or she's the what I forget what wordage they used, but it's her brand is that store,
Hmm.
and then she just never reveals herself, and now apparently her store is going to be flooded by kids being a fan of her. But anyway, so they move out and you get to see the uniforms that they came in, and the animation makes Bird look like he literally lost his head.
Yeah, he got destroyed so hard he broke his neck when he walked out. It was a little bit tragic. So, and that's where the anime ends.
Straight 90.
We're going into season 2 next time, so stay tuned for that. And as always, Blade Dragons. No, I'm kidding. Oh man. So then we get into the last point for episode 21 is sort of the fact that it seems like no one really wants to battle outside of Common. Like after what was it? After Uni 1, I think it was either Multi or Common wanted to battle, but she said no. She was just like, "Yeah, no, I don't feel like battling." And it's like, isn't that the whole point of the story is that you battle, you do the Beyblade thing in the stadium and you don't want to do that? What is this? It's so weird how like it's happened like a couple of times now. And it's
Common
like,
gets rejected because he's too strong,
yeah, like that.
or
I mean,
people just don't want to.
yeah, it's so weird. I mean, like, you know, say what you will about like, in previous animes when that happened, like there it's probably been there before, but I think like in this anime it's amplified by just sort of how scarce battles seem to be, or rather good battles. There's like so many opportunities that you could give to these characters in order to progress the story but also still feel like Beyblade is a part of it, because some of these like episode ideas, like Team Persona goes to a museum, Team Persona goes clothes shopping, Team Persona goes to do the groceries for Maiden. Although we did get like a decent sort of battle in that episode, it just, kind of, it didn't really feel like the anime was focused on Beyblade. Like, I don't, I was intrigued initially when we got this revealed in the trailer and they sort of showed like, oh, Multi is an influencer and she, is popular with people, and there's a lot more focus on social media in this one. I think that was not done correctly. It was not written well enough. Like, they're trying to do sort of like a thing where Baytubers exist in the anime, but I think where that kind of falls off is that if you look at Baytube, most Baytubers don't really actually go out and do battles and tournaments. There is no X Tower for us to climb. There is no like solid, consistent sport coverage of Beyblade for, for them to really do what they're trying to do here. Like, if they wanted to do a story about, like, Baytube and Beyblade influencers, quote-unquote, I hate the influencer word, and I hate how much they use it in this anime, too. It's such a... It's been bastardized by the sheer amount of these quote-unquote influencers in our reality. TikTok, Instagram is another great place to go for garbage. Just sort of giving a bad name to content creation, and it's amplified by
Exactly.
the very high-paced, low attention span short form that we've seen in the last few years. But that's a deeper topic for another day. But
You made me laugh. You're like, they when it comes to Baytubers, they don't actually go outside. I'm like, don't call me out like that. I sometimes leave my house when I don't spend 8 hours filming a video. Come on,
no,
come
me
on.
too. I go out, I take my dog out for walks, and I go to stores, and
I leave for work every morning.
I touch grass. I promise. You just never see that.
I don't show that side of my life. It's too personal.
Me and the grass have a relationship, man. It's not like that. But
I swear I'm married to that dandelion. You guys just don't believe me.
you should have seen the wedding. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, I like the whole thing that they're trying to do with like including influencers and Baytubers in the story as such a focal point kind of falls apart, in my opinion. You know, it makes for a very lacking anime. You know, in all of the other animes, Beyblade is treated hardcore like a sport through and through. It gets major coverage. They have massive arenas, and it's not just one. Like in the X City, there's the X Tower, and like there's like a small stadium, like in you know like your average store and whatnot. But other than that, there's no like
Hmm.
arenas anywhere. It's just the X Tower, and everywhere else just kind of has the obligatory like, oh, you pulled out of the closet, whip it down, and Beyblade battle or whatever. Whereas like in Metal
Hmm.
Fight, you would see like constantly these different locations that are dedicated for Beyblading. They have these ginormous arenas everywhere with different stadiums that can pop out of the ground and like multiple smaller ones for like, you know, larger selection tournaments and whatnot. You know, and they had the same thing for Plastic Gen, and I think Burst probably did it as well. There was like a fair amount of like dedicated stadium places. Like, yeah, you just threw down most of the stadiums in that, but at least like when they were doing an event, they were reserving like an entire like different place for it, which I think was really integral to, you know, the previous seasons and their world building. Whereas here, it's all in like one very, very centralized place. You've got the X Tower, you've got the zoo, you've got the museum, you've got Taisho Shop, you've got the Yggdrasil Tower, you've got whatever park there is or whatever, and the gym, and like that's it. There's like what, 7-ish locations that we've seen out of the entire anime so far.
Hmm.
Whereas like every other one goes to like all these crazy new places, and they have like all kinds of epic battles. There's all different kinds of opportunities. Whereas here it's just sort of like, yeah, we're doing a tournament, and when we're not Beyblading, we're doing like the most boring everyday garbage. And it's like if I wanted to watch a show
Yeah.
about people living everyday lives, I would watch The Office. Or like the first three
Exactly. You know.
seasons of The
It,
Office.
anyway, so that was really the main point of episode 21 is that we introduced to Uni, but moving on to episode 22, we get a little more backstory on Uni, which was something we haven't seen on like any character.
That was episode 23.
Malty, well, what you just put 20, you just put 22.
No, 23 is Uni's backstory. And then 20 20
Oh, it's
20.
the dreams of pet. Oh, dreams of being a
Yeah.
pet by birth. Okay. Um.
So we have this
Okay. Well, whatever.
we have it's we have this really weird interaction with Uni where she's like they get to the stadium and it's just Sonamos and Uni. So that's one thing that's important that I actually forgot to list down, is that Burn does not show up immediately. In the manga chapter for what do you call it? For Beyblade, when they did Team Yggdrasil versus Team Persona, Burn was there from the start. He battled Common first, but then just dipped after he lost and kind of just left his team out to dry, and then they lost too, and it was a little disappointing. It's very different here. It's actually all backwards. So they start with Zanamos and Bird, and then Uni and Multi have a one-on-one, and then Burn shows up midway through. So what's interesting is that they Burn doesn't show up with them immediately, and instead shows up later for his battle, which, in all honesty, still kind of a crap team leader, but at least he's not just ditching his team after he loses. So I can honestly excuse him for showing up late, because we saw that plenty of other times throughout the other animes. I know in Plastic Gen, like Tyson and Kai are late to the Asia tournament because they have to climb a hill. Like there's several times in Metal Fight in the World Championships, like Jinga or Masamune or Klaus, or like they show up late or whatever, or like, you know, there was that one episode where Julian shows up without the rest of his team. So like the informal thing is something that's been done before, but we've never really seen something where like you have a very into it character just leave their team for no reason. But showing up late is something I can excuse. That's something we've seen before, so it gets a pass here. And I just kind of wanted to mention that.
But that is, yeah, it's different that they did that between the anime and the manga. That there's, they really hyped up this in the anime, put some filler in there, but then didn't follow the manga, which was kind of weird. That I personally haven't read the manga, but we won't spoil the outcome of the battle. But
It's okay, man. You don't need to read the manga. They did it better. They did it better, in my opinion. The way that they showed it in the manga was didn't really
yeah,
paint the
I
characters
I
well.
enjoyed the battle, but we'll move forward. That Uni has a thing that she really likes Bird, as a leader and just like as a person on the Blade team. So Uni and Burn are one-sided friendship, pretty much. Burn seems to be a villain. He is like the first villain. We have Chrome Ryugu, which is kind of like a. Well, let's just move on. I don't. There's a lot I wanted to say, but they're in the next two episodes.
Yeah, well, we'll come back to
So
Chrome.
this episode is kind of filler. Like there was some weird battles that went on. The Zunamos was a. Is that the next episode? No, that's the next episode.
Yeah, all like
What even happened?
all the interesting stuff is like after this one. This one is sort
Yeah,
of
so let's just skip through episode 22.
yeah.
I don't think there's really anything in there.
This one is really lame.
Of,
The big thing to talk about with episode 22 is the fact that they really, really heavily deviated from the manga. Now, I think the manga deviations are a good thing because the manga is just kind of a joke at this point. But for they didn't really do Bird any justice. I mean, they kind of did, but they also really didn't. And basically what happens is Zonamos challenges Bird to this really weird puzzle riddle battle where he has to win by solving the puzzle. And the Yeti and Sophie or whatever, the little Anubis
the
woman,
Sphinx.
yeah, the
I guess it's not a Sphinx, but yeah.
it's like I'm gonna call her Anubis woman because that's basically what she is. And they come out and launch their Beyblades, so it ends up becoming this weird 3-on-1. And for whatever reason, they just do it. I don't know if like Bird accepts or if it's like he just had to do it. It was they were just sort of like, so we're gonna do a riddle, and then it's like, yep, all 3 versus 1. We're like, wait a minute, what the hell? Isn't this against the rules? You can't just like do that. I mean, like, it would be one thing if the character like, blatantly is like, yeah, I'll take on the challenge, but I don't think Bird was really like into that. They just sort of decided it for him.
No.
It was just stupid and wacky. And the sad thing is that Bird does win, but he also loses. Basically, Bird defeats. He solves the riddle, defeats the. Oh, I gotta switch the slide. I almost forgot about that. That would have been bad. But yeah, this is essentially what happens for the entire battle. Bird loses, I think, like what, twice or 3 times. But then he goes in for like the 3rd or 4th time, and he solves the riddle.
Yeah.
He defeats not 1 but 2 of the Sphinx cows. Completely, knocks him out, spin finish style. And then he ties with Zonamos. But for whatever reason, they still count it as a loss.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, wait. Yeah,
and
no.
The weird part that we. Go ahead.
Yeah, he basically just he didn't tie with Zonamos. That was wrong. He spun out just slightly before Zonamos stopped spinning, but he still defeated the other 2 bays. So I would count that as a win if it was up to me.
Yeah, and the weird thing that we were stuck on was that originally we were expecting the other Sphinx and Yeti bays to be 4X, but they're not, and especially in an X Tower tournament, that they are not 4X, and he actually gets triple teamed by 3 Beyblades and then loses like it's a fair match. Really made us upset because Bird actually solved the riddle, crushed like 2 out of 3 Sphinx cowls, but they didn't count because they weren't the right one apparently, and then still lost. It was like, we get it. It wasn't his time to win, But the fact that they just blew by the fact that he beat two actual Beyblades and then just still lost really frustrated us we didn't think this was a fair battle at all. And it was just really out of place for being in the X Tower. Like Metal mentioned that it would have been in the Sphinx's lair, that they should have done like this riddle with the three Bay battle instead of the 1v1. And I don't know why they switched the battles here and thought a 3v1 battle fit in the X Tower.
Yeah, it was just really, really like why everything that we've seen has generally been one on one. There was one exception where we saw Burn take on all of Team Phalanx and all of Takami's men, and he
Hmm.
was the one that challenged them. So it was one person Burn challenging five people at the same time. That's all right. That's acceptable because he is the one who is at the disadvantage. So like when that kind of challenge is up, like, you know, that would be 100% all right. Or if it was something like what was proposed in Metal Masters when Japan was fighting the African team, where the African team was like, "Here, we challenge you guys to a 2-on-2 battle. Do you accept that?" And they accepted it. And that's, you know, fair battling terms within those, you know, within that format. But here it's very very just awkward because it's Bird. He sucks. He's not really like he's very socially awkward. So, you know, he wouldn't even be I don't think he'd be capable of understanding like what Zonamos is even like trying to challenge him to. And then you have Zonamos who
Right.
has beaten him before already. We've seen Zonamos doesn't have to try very hard to defeat Bird, but then again, who does? And he comes out and he's like, "So hey, you want to fight me 3-on-3? Oh no, well we're doing it anyways, or 3-on-1, whatever." It was just like very out of place and wacky, and I think it would have worked better, as Elliot said, in the Zonamos intro episode when they were at the Zonamos house or whatever they call it, museum. And yeah, it was just
Hmm.
overall kind of a really disappointing and confusing battle. Um, I like that they tried to make it a little bit different, but at the same time, in a very like professional setting like this, where they're putting so much emphasis on pro bladers, doing this weird, out of place and like borderline illegal maneuver in the anime is just it wasn't that it didn't roll out well.
No, I mean for like if this was like a Zuganic battle or something, it could have worked. But for them to hype it up for like 7 episodes or more, and then just have it be like a weird kind of trial battle was just not very nice.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous, and you know, part of we can't wholly blame, you know, the animators because they had to deal with a really bad you know situation anyways. And at the end of the day, we're not really here to put the blame on anyone, but it does make you wonder, like, at the root of what is the root cause of, you know, the story being just so unbelievably not Beyblade. Is it?
Not linear at all. They could have done this. Obviously, we'll skim over this, but it's just not really does not. There's a lot of things that don't make sense in the story progression, some of the battles, but we'll continue. We'll move on.
Yep.
Going forward.
So the last thing for episode 22 is after Bird lost, of course. Oh yeah, that was one of the things. If Bird said that if he won, he wanted his face taken off the statue at Zonama's house. So he lost, and Zonama's turned it to gold.
Hmm.
Yep. So once again, Bird is the butt of the joke, which at this point is just not
What's new?
surprising. But yeah, episode 22 was really confusing, really weird, not a great episode. Honestly, one you could just skip. Pretty much all the battles Bird fights in, you can just skip because he loses, which is sad. It
Yeah.
just doesn't it actively takes away from the story and harms it. But we're getting into the latter half, and we actually have some good episodes where we actually get some additions, and they add more than they take away, which absolutely love. So first up, we get episode 23, and we get a lot of focus on Uni and Multi here. Now, we've known quite a few things about Multi, and there are definitely things that we will learn in the coming episodes after Team Yggdrasil. But here we also get a lot of focus on Uni. Now, what I will praise the anime for is giving Uni and Zonamos much more spotlight than the manga did. And I mean, granted, the way that Beyblade has worked, I read all of season one, or was it all of Metal Fusion's manga, and then compared it to the anime, and it seems like it is very common for a lot of extra writing to go down between the manga episodes. It is very sort of short, and it's limited to what they can do since this is a monthly anime and not a weekly one. So it is understandable that there is filler that happens. It's just when you have Beyblade X and the filler is very, it doesn't progress the plot anywhere, is when we have the issues with it. But here what they did was interesting. For Beyblade X standards, they gave Uni like a surprising amount of backstory in her battle. She apparently went to school, and I think she like wanted to Beyblade, but sort of had to keep up an appearance. And then she also used to be like a head of a company or something like that. And they showed that she would Beyblade in the like meeting room, which honestly, when we saw that, we were like, "Yo, wait, sign me up for that! I want to go be a corporate head and like instead of having like boring meetings like Beyblade battle to like make big decisions, like that'd be hype." Honestly, we should stop fighting wars. We should just settle politics with Beyblade. Like,
Mm-hmm. Progressive, very progressive.
mm-hmm. But either way, we get a lot of interesting backstory for Uni, and it shows like a few different sides of her. She's always sort of had the unicorn hair thing, and she's always sort of been. She's had to like shoot high, I guess, is sort of what they wanted to say. It was difficult to decipher throughout um, the auto subs, and we will go back later on when we rewatch the season to give our final thoughts on it. We'll watch all the subtitle ones, get a better understanding of what actually happened. But for this one, it seemed very much like Uni, was always given sort of the treatment like, you have to aim high, you have to achieve a lot,
Mm-hmm.
which we've seen before. Something very similar to Julian Konzern from Metal Fight, for example, where he was rich, he had a family name to live up to, and it seems like there was a very similar thing with Uni here, which I kind of like, and it built her character out throughout the battle. But what was also very interesting was the format they used, because they were able to show this, and Elliot has just popped out of screen. It was very quick. It was funny. But yeah, like your camera glitched and it just showed you like just like gone.
Yeah, I don't know if my camera's glitching or not. It doesn't seem like my connection's very good today. I don't know why.
It's not too bad. Um,
Okay.
yeah, you cut out a bit, but you kind of come right back after. So let's pray it stays that way. But
Yep.
yeah, the backstory they gave for Uni was a very good move, and they were able to do this because they did start using the first to 4 points format per each battle, and I don't know why they've switched it like nearly midway through the anime. It's kind of an odd decision, but at the same time, it does allow for them to delve into a longer battle. We get to see more sides of the Beyblades. It's not just one battle, winner loser, and then it moves on. Which I don't know why they didn't do that from the start, because that's such an integral part of this season. All the battles are so fast, they end very quickly, and there's not a lot of time for them to delve into the specific methods and modes that they do in other seasons, where like a Metal Fight battle could draw out for like 1 to 2 entire episodes. It's very different here, where there needs to be a lot of filled in time before the battle. Or what they have, I guess, hopefully have started doing is doing the format first to 4, where you can have multiple battles and fill in the time that way, which I think is, I don't know why they didn't do it from the beginning, but I thought that was it was a very interesting thing. Why they started doing it and not make some kind of statement about it, like you've reached this level of the X Tower, so now you have to do this many battles in a round or whatever. It was sort of weird. It's kind of a bittersweet situation.
Yep.
Okay.
I didn't know. I'm sorry. I literally had no idea what you were talking about.
My bad.
It's
All
just-
right, I rambled. We'll I'll cut the back. I'll cut the back chat a little bit.
it doesn't help that I'm trying to figure out my audio, and it's literally like every other word is cutting out for you.
Oh, that sucks. All right, I'll.
Yeah, I literally don't know why my Wi-Fi is literally dying today.
Oh man, that's a big L. At least we can still see you all clear and cute. But the next point that we got is one of the I guess auto subs being funny, of course, because we get this line from Uni about Ban, who is such a strong breeder that he was submerged in water. Now Ban is burn, but they pronounce it ban, so it auto subs to Ban, which is kind of funny. But they also call him Mr. Ban, which in internet culture, when you hear the word ban, it typically brings up getting sliced or axed from whatever platform or area that you're on. So it's really funny to see auto subs messing up that in that aspect.
Hmm. There's a lot of things, but between those battles of Uni and Zanamos, we do see a little bit of cooler things than we were expecting out of these battles. But it's just really weird once again that they hype these battles up, and then once again they advert our expectations on what we were expecting to get out of these battles. We got more, and then we got less, and then we got what we expected finally in the last battle.
Yep. Which I mean, like it's expected that multi has to win, but at least the way that they did it, they showed that this was a very intense battle, and that's one thing that I did like. This was one of the best battles that we saw, or that we've seen so far. And I mean, like we see multi and uni both getting super super into it. They're both sweating, and they're gritting their teeth. They're getting really into it, and the battle animation was actually really good. They showed like a lot of great shots. They showed this right here where Uni was using the extreme line, and she does a thing where she knocks Night Lance into the air, and of course Night Lance has Rainy Lance, so kind of Pegasus Star Blast attack-esque special move that she used on her, which was so cool. And like we were expecting that to happen, but in the context of like just how like epic it was, and it wasn't just like out of nowhere, it was like a struggle, it was a back and forth between them to win. So it was it felt complete in a way.
Hmm. Very good. Cool. We saw Night raining Nightlands again. I think that's the second or maybe third time we've seen it in this entire
I
series.
think so.
Multi found it very apparent that she needed to break out Nightlands. I think she's only done that against real threat bladers. That other than that, she's really just stuck with shield or arrow. So she must have accepted the challenge from Uni and said, "Well, I got to go all out." And we weren't really we weren't disappointed with the battle. It was a very good outcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure one of the highlights so far of this season of X. And you know this episode, the saddest part is that like this episode is probably like the equivalent of being like one of the not so good like Plastic Gen or Burst episodes, which just makes you sad. But hey, you know what, at least we're not talking about those consistently. We're focusing on X. So honestly, a W episode for X. And the last thing I want to mention is that they also broke the mold with the manga once again. After Uni lost in the manga, which was in a 2v2, it was very different. She like lost. Unicorn Sting gets thrown out of the stadium, and in the manga, Uni was just like, "Oh my goodness, Multi, you're so awesome." But here they show that Uni is clearly distressed. She is not happy that she lost. But then, like right after, Multi comes over and is like, "Hey, look, it's all right," and like talks to her a bit, and then Uni is like, "Okay, now I feel better," and it's like that. That's sort of like more what it should be like. This is another moment. They did the same thing with King after his battle with Common. He was upset at losing. Same with Toguro, who lost to Multi. He wasn't happy that he lost. And it's always good to see that, not everyone is just happy, like, oh, I lost, but it's okay because I like the person that I fought, or everyone wins and gets a trophy because we need to include everybody, even if they suck. No skill involved, and it's really good to see that at least that part of Beyblade has not died for this anime.
Yep. So yeah, she was depressed, and they shook hands. You know, they were sportsmanship about it, and they moved on. And then that is where the episode left us. And then we get into the actual main course, or the appetizer to the main course, as we found out. Um, episode 24, where we actually get to meet Burn, and it was very fun how they depict Burn. We've gotten a little bit of a mysterious aura around Yggdrasil, or at least Burn as a character. And for them to introduce the beginning of this anime, literally businessman trying to bribe the supposedly the what they call it, the leader of the Bay Club was Ryogo,
Something like
at
that.
the top of the X
That could
Tower.
just be like
Yeah,
that could just be mistranslation since it was auto subs.
yeah.
It's probably just like the current champion of the X Tower or whatever.
hmm Yeah, so they were he was literally proposing a deal with him. He's always a businessman, forward thinking, trying to get his way and incorporate it into the Bay universe. So he was telling Chrome, he's like, I want you to use Phoenix Feather, just like he's told everyone that he's seen, that he wants them to use it and try to push forward the time shift aspect of whatever Burn is trying to do with Beyblade. So it's really cool that they portrayed him more of a villain, and it's really nice that there's actual like tension. There's evil music. Like it's really fun how they depicted him in this episode.
Yeah, for sure. You know, they showed him like in this interview going up, and we get a little bit more of Chrome. We haven't really seen who he is exactly. We've seen like bits and pieces here and there, but it was nice to see him interact with somebody that wasn't common and in present day too. Like most of it has been flashbacks for him, so it was very cool to see Byrne come up and do an interview with him and be like, "So yeah, I'm just gonna casually take your spot now, and you're gonna step down because I've advanced Beyblade far beyond what you've seen before, so it's my time to shine." It was very tense, and that's something that we haven't seen a lot of in this anime. So this episode certainly started off very well with that aspect of it. And of course, this shot is why both me and Elliot have more orangey lights on for this episode. I think we'll start doing that as like a mood thing for these videos. Be pretty fun. But we got
hmm
that very epic intro for the episode, and then we move into Burn showing up. He arrives at the X Tower, and he shows up. He's ready to battle, and common is, of course, everyone is expecting Phoenix Feather to be the Beyblade that he uses, but no, because he reveals that he's got a new Beyblade. It is Phoenix Wing, and it is even faster than Phoenix Feather, which everyone is just like, no way. Phoenix Feather was already so fast. You made one that's faster? And the way they showed this off was the Beyblade, like, glowing so bright and, like, changing the mood. And you can see Bird here is, like, you know, engulfed in flames. And there's sparks flying around everywhere. And they make a big deal about Phoenix Wing. And it is, you know, it's so epic. It's tense. They have, like, very ominous music that plays, which is another, you know, this is like the second or third instance where the music comes in and it's actually important into developing the story, which I love so much. Music always makes a humongous impact on any story that you're telling. So it was so cool to see them, you know, play around with the tone a little more in when they're introducing such a formidable character.
They did a bang up job introducing Burn. It was very nice that he finally took the Beyblade out of the cryogenic time chamber that he's been storing Phoenix Wing in for the last 3, 4 episodes that we've seen. And I was surprised they didn't like make that a bigger deal. Like he literally like pops the top off and then just puts it in his hands like, I got Phoenix Feather or Phoenix Wing and it's the all be all. And it was fun. But yeah, very good power dynamic shown in the art style for this for sure.
Absolutely. Definitely felt very reminiscent of, you know, like something like Plastic Gen or Metal Fight when somebody very intimidating shows up and there's like an aura, or they have like they cut the background out and show that character like large up, which they seem to only do for multi.
with multi.
Yeah. And it's like there are other characters that can be intimidating, not just your token female lead character. But what was very interesting about this match was what they did with um, with continuity. One thing that we had mentioned long ago when we went over the Kadovar Challenge episode where Bird won the Kadovar Challenge was that we never saw Burn do it. In the manga, they showed that Burn showed up with Phoenix Feather and set a time that was better than Common. I believe Common got like 0.98 seconds, which was a new record, and then Burn showed up with Feather and beat him by another 0.02 to build onto that, which was, made a big deal. They never showed that in the anime, but what happened is they saved it for this. So Burn shows up, he shows off Phoenix Wing, and then offers a demonstration. So against the two Sphinx Cowls from Anubis Woman and the Yeti, he battles them and shows off the sheer speed of Phoenix Feather. It's like Phoenix Wing, sorry. Phoenix Wing drops into the stadium, zips around, and then destroys both of the Beyblades in 0.96 seconds. And it's like this huge deal. And it's interesting that they took that from Kadovar and they moved it to here. And in all honesty, I think that really helps build that, formidability that they've been showing for Burn so far.
Yeah, there was a big emphasis on the speed and the power, and then we're like, oh, dang, this man's really full of himself doing a demonstration before even doing a battle. And yeah, I mean, there wasn't much demonstration to be had. It was just kind of launch, animation, done. That they both put out their Sphinx baby, bit beast, whatever the heck we're calling them, and then they just get clapped and they're gone.
Yeah. It just a crazy double burst finish fashion, absolutely destroyed, and just shows off the sheer power of Phoenix Wing right off the bat too. And of course, Common, being the idiot he is, falls asleep and misses the entire thing, I think, because he was kind of like passed out on the bench there, and they were just like, dude. Yeah, Common is handled very interestingly. Sometimes I don't think he's serious enough, and I wish he would be a little more serious in occasions. But getting into the actual battle, it was just insanely epic to start off. And we'll get into who won and who lost in a bit, but the actual battle part was very well done. We were pretty captivated. Usually when we watch the battles go down, we usually chime in every few seconds with a comment like, "Oh, look at that. We saw that before. That's lame," or, "What the hell just happened here?" And it's like for this one, we were just watching to see what would happen because we didn't know. And, I mean, even though, I read the manga and it's very, very different to how it goes in the manga. But what's interesting is how much emphasis they show on the power between these two Beyblades. It's very Plastic Gen Metal Fight-esque. They have a giant light pillar that flies out of the stadium. Wind is everywhere. It's throwing they show a shot of the crowd getting harassed by the wind, and they show Bird and Multi just in awe at how powerful these Beyblades are, which is very uncharacteristic of this anime. So seeing that sort of more fantasy element from the previous animes come through here was very refreshing.
I think the last time we saw something like that was the Common Zuganic battle. I think him and King did a little bit of that they had a large clash like that and made the fans get a little worried. But I guess we skipped over the fact that the stakes for this battle are actually very high, that this is the first battle that stakes have been imposed. And obviously the stakes are third party, that they're not imposed into the actual battle. But Burn says, if I win, Team Persona will be disbanded and that you guys will no longer be a Blade team. And then he wanted them all to come and work for him or whatever, that they wanted Multi to go be a Bay crafter for him. And I don't know what he said about Burn or Bird or Common. But then if Burn lost, He literally said, "I will give you all of my shares of the Yggdrasil pharmaceutical company." And it was really funny. He was like, "Wow, man's so proud of his creation that he bet his entire business, like his entire family fortune, on this one Beyblade battle." I want to say that's pretty high stakes. I mean, not metal fight, saving the universe or anything kind of stakes, but those are very high impact stakes. And Common, of course, says, I don't need a business or whatever. I'm just going to win. But of course, Common is very eager to accept the battle. So the stakes have set, and then we get into the battle.
Yep, it is. It's pretty deep when the for that, and it makes you wonder, will they actually like go through on that in the next episode? Because sadly, we don't get to see everything in this episode in typical Beyblade X
Hmm.
fashion. But in a way, that also leaves us on a very interesting cliffhanger for like the first time in like quite a while. We're actually interested in seeing what happens in the next episode. But they show such an explosive battle, something that we have not seen very often. Like the battle against King and then the battle with the thugs was like the only time we saw things get real, and like we were going nuts for that. So it was insane to see just absolute nonsense come out of this battle in a good way, good nonsense. But we get to see that, and the result is very interesting. Drawn Dagger attempts to go for an extreme dash, but the time shift occurs in which Burn states that Phoenix Feather was meant to be the fastest, and because of that, Common's Unseen X is now able to be seen by everyone because it's just not as fast as Phoenix Feather was. And of course, Common gets bodied a little bit by the very heavy Phoenix Wing, which, I love the correlation between the actual product and the anime, where they state that it is heavy. And
Hmm.
right after that, Burn goes in for the extreme dash, and for the first time, we actually get to see Common X lose a battle. Drawn Dagger is knocked right out of the stadium and loses. Now, granted, this is the first to four format, but I'm pretty sure that that was an extreme finish for him, which would count as a 3-point loss. Which, oof.
So, yeah, we'll see what happens in the next episode. I don't think I got any clips of the intro for the next episode or whatever, but they Common is taken aback by what happened, and he's for once an underdog and set up a very good plot point that I've heard some weird things about the manga and everything. But anyway, going forward, we are biting our nails trying to figure out what's going to happen in these next couple battles for Team Persona and Yggdrasil.
Yep, it is very nice to see that Common is not completely invincible in the anime, something that's very different from the manga, because he did lose. He didn't lose. I think he only tied with Burn. They ended up being so fast that they just tied, and then they fought like a couple more times, and then Common wins. And here, seeing Common actually lose one is very, very interesting. So we're definitely curious to see next time how he reacts to that aspect of it. And this is probably another very big deviation from the manga. This is new grounds for Beyblade X. So we're definitely excited to see what comes out of next week. We did kind of peek at what was going to happen, and it just kind of showed us what we expected, some clips of whatever the battle was, and it showed some interesting stuff. But I think we'll leave what happens next time for next month when we go over the anime again, because it kind of feels like if we did go over what happens next time, then it would just kind
Another
of
cliffhanger.
it would just be filler. It wouldn't feel like we're doing it because we're interested in it. I mean, we are, but I think it'll be more worth talking about in context next time.
Yeah, I like the whole thing where we kind of had a full arc here that we've met the characters and then we almost finished the arc within the four episodes. So it was more of a nicely wrapped up anime than or episode for the podcast than just nitpicking everything till an hour goes by. So I enjoyed the concept of the month recap, and it definitely seems like the next few episodes are going to have a lot of substance that we should have to break down. Once again, we'll see how close it is to the manga. I've heard the manga has some weird things that are going on in it. I hope we don't get anywhere near that in the anime, but we will have to see what happens.
Yep, 100%. So, guys, that's pretty much it for this week's anime review. I'm very much on the same page with Elliot here. This was way more fun than nitpicking one episode for an hour. Instead, we got to go into all of the interesting things that we thought were worth talking about for 4 episodes for the month. So, we're going to be covering, I think, either 3 or I guess 4 more for next month. We've got this week's the 5th, the 12th, the 19th. And then, oh, we got 5 episodes for next time, so that's going to be interesting. First comment is from Galactic, a very legendary commenter, someone that is always showing up to our streams and events, which we love. We love you, Galactic. Says, great video, 100, lot of fire emojis. Happy Beyblade Day, Dragons. Happy Beyblade Day to you too, even though we're a
few days late.
3 days late. It's okay. It's okay. I'll just take the next one.
Appreciate the sport. We got Jank Maker. Now we need to play with those rules with the X, making them with the tweezer hammers. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I think we mentioned in this episode that there's a lot of inspiration that can be taken to implement into other generations of Beyblade that isn't as straightforward as just battling Beyblade. So we'll definitely have to figure out a way to do some fun stuff with Beyblades. But yeah, there were some very fun things with Top Plate that could be implemented, just might need a little effort.
Yeah, certainly some reworking and whatnot. And then our last comment is from Emenifer, who says, my dumbass was waiting for this to come out in the States back in the day, which, understandable. And then also, many cultures have spinning tops. They play different games with them. Apparently, after Korean spinning tops are spun, they were kept spinning by the user using a small whip repeatedly hitting the side of their top. And there is a video link, so we'll have to check that out after we stop the recording. Maybe touch on that in the next nostalgia reviews or doing another video, maybe. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's definitely very interesting. It is cool to see how different cultures handle spinning tops. And it kind of doesn't feel like America really has anything that they did that's unique. At least not that.
Oh, we'll spin shots!
Yeah, I guess, yeah, true. I guess that is that was our spinning thing, and
It's about American we get.
That is pretty American. Oh man, but yep. So we always like to read the comments that we get on our videos. So if you guys want to have your comment featured, be sure to leave a comment on this video. Stay tuned. Our next episode is either coming out before or after this one. We're gonna discuss the Hasbro releases and all the information that we got on Beyblade Day. So it's gonna be quite a big one for sure. There's just absolutely so much product talk to go over for that one. So much so that we've invited a couple of people, and we'll have at least one guest with us for next time. So it'll certainly be an exciting deal, and we'll get some more opinions than we usually get. But other than that, that's all I got. Elliot, anything else?
No, I guess while we're at it, come on. We need 2 subscribers. Get the Blade Dragons to 100 subscribers, man. We've been grinding out here. We've been going hard. We got some great content coming for you guys in this next couple months. So you don't want to miss that. Hit that subscribe button, especially if you're watching right now. We appreciate all of your support, all of your likes and comments. It's great to see some interaction along with the community. And that will be it for us. Blade Dragons out.